This is Self Haircuts by Dane, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to do a high taper. I typically do mid or low tapers on myself, but today I feel like doing a high taper, so that's what we're going to do. Last week I shaved off my beard, and I just started the beard series, so look out for those videos. But let's get into the high taper. All right, first step, I got to knock the hair down. So I'm using a 1 guard, completely open, and of course, I'm going with the grain. I know that most wavers usually like their hair at a 1.5, but I like mine at a 1. I feel like it looks better. Let's set the first guideline. I wanted to use these trimmers because I thought they would set a better guideline and it wouldn't be as sharp, but it came out too dull. So I wanted something a little sharper to set that first guideline. I tried using my clippers with it open, or excuse me, closed first as well, but I didn't like that either. So I just went with the Andy's T-Liners trimmers, used my C-cups and the top of my ear opening as my first reference line, and then I set that guideline. No, I want it sharper. Like that. Good. All right, let's do no guard open, and we're going up about a 1/2 inch. I would encourage you guys to go up a little further past that first guideline. I don't think I went up far enough, and I didn't give myself enough space to work with for the fade, but you'll see that it came together. But if I were you, I would go up a little further, just to give yourself enough space to work with for the fade. All right, now I do no guard completely closed, and then I'm just working out that first guideline. So you see that first dark line at the bottom that I created with my trimmers. I'm just working that line out. My goal is for that line to be as faint as possible by the time I'm done. Next, I'm going in with my one guard completely open, and I'm just flicking out that second guideline. So I'm trying to be as delicate as possible, not trying to make anything too pronounced, but I'm just flicking. And I go up about maybe about a half inch to an inch. Now I'm going in with my two guard, and my goal here is to just make the transition a lot smoother from the darker waves to the fade. So I use that maybe about an inch and a half, and I kind of just knock out some of that darker hair that I see above that second guideline. And then my hope is that it just creates a better transition. So I take my one guard again, but this time I close it. And my goal is to continue to work out that second guideline and to try to diminish the line as much as possible. I recognize that I'm not going to get the line completely out right now, but using that flicking motion with the guard closed, with the lever closed, I should say, it will help diminish the sharpness of that line. Now I take my half guard and I use a combination of it opened and closed, just depending on what it needs. As I had mentioned earlier, I wish I created more space between that first and second guideline. With the no guard open, it would have given me just a better view of what line to kind of knock out here. So right now it looks a little confusing for me, and I'm trying my best to see it, but eventually it all comes together. If I were you guys, just create a stronger or a thicker line or space between the first guideline you create with your trimmers and the second guideline you create with your no guard open. And when you come back to do some detail work right here, it allows you to see it a lot better. All right, so I still have some detail work left to do. As you can see, I'm looking at this line that in the back of my head that I'm seeing in the mirror, and I recognize that I have to get that out at some point. However, if I start with the edge up, sometimes it allows me to see some of those inconsistencies a little better. So I'm just going to do the back of my head first. And for me, I just follow the natural flow of my hairline. Any type of overflow of hair that I see coming over the hairline, I just cut it off. But I don't do anything extravagant. Around the corners of my ears or around the top of my ears, I make sure I use only the corner of the trimmer. But for the most part, I'm following the natural flow of my hairline. Now, for the front of my hairline, I always start in the middle. Start in the middle. It allows you to see the rest of it better. Now, for some of you who have watched some of my previous videos, you guys know I could be a little particular about my hairline. And the reason why is because I like to go up a little higher on my corners. The easy thing for me to tell you guys is just to follow the natural flow of your hairline. It makes sense. It works for most people. But I like the corners of my hairline a little higher. It's just my preference. So what you see me doing here is I'm gonna dig in a little bit to the corners of my hairline. And I know some people are not a fan of it. That's how I do it. All right, let's fade the beard. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I just shaved my beard last week. So my beard is really short right now. But regardless of how short or long my beard is, I always fade it. So what I do is I start with my first guideline with the trimmers at the bottom of the opening of my ear. And because my beard is really short right now, it doesn't need much. And then the next thing I do is I use the foil shaver just to create more dimension. So I just balled out that space between the top fade, the fade of my hair, and then the fade in my beard. Next thing I do is I grab the clippers, I do no guard open, I go down about a half an inch, and then you'll see me flip the lever to close, and then I knock out that first guideline. And then because my beard is so short, I don't need much fading, so I just grab a half guard, I do it open first, go down another about a half an inch, and then I'll close. You'll see me close it and knock out that second guideline. So nice and easy. But if you have a beard, I definitely recommend that you fade it. Even fade it a little bit. It just looks a little better. It creates more dimension to your face. Now the next thing I do is my neckline. I like my beard a little thicker, so I use 2 fingers above my Adam's apple as my reference, and then the corner of my jawline. And that's the style that works for me. I just released a beard series, and I talk about this a lot more in depth. I'm gonna tag it here for you guys to reference. All right, so we start in the middle, and then really, I want to get like right here, about right there. So. You can check it out. Could probably go a little higher. All right, so I'm gonna keep the beard natural. I just shaved it last week, so I'm starting over. I'm not exactly sure if I'm gonna keep the top part of the beard full, or if I'm gonna round it like this and keep it more narrow. Sometimes I keep it full and just bring it right here, and sometimes I keep it narrow. But either way, this part of my beard grows a lot faster than everywhere else. So in order to keep it even until next week, when the beard is a little fuller and I can actually do a lot more with it, I'm just gonna knock down these little parts. Let's see if this one. So you might not be able to notice it, but it's not as dark right here. All right, so as it grows throughout the week, the rest of this beard can catch up with the thickness of the rest of it. All right. And it's crazy because this is something I've been doing for years, right? It's one of those things where once you recognize what part of your beard grows faster, what I do, I just fade it, or I just knock it down a little bit and wait for the rest of the hair to catch up. And once it catches up, it looks a lot more full, but you gotta recognize which parts grow faster than others. All right, you gotta do above your lip, right here. And then I'm just gonna keep a lot of this natural. So I won't even use the straight razor on it, but I want to keep it as thick as possible. So next week, I have as much hair to work with as possible. But I still want to look presentable, you know what I mean? I don't want to look too dusty for the rest of the week. But yeah, I mean, that's it. I could probably get right here. The hair grows thick right there too. Just like that. Yes, sir.